All right, in this app, we are going to create a mixed number to improper fraction converter. We're not going to go into the steps to reduce it just yet, but it will convert from a mixed number to an improper fraction, or from an improper fraction to a non-reduced mixed number. So the first thing we need to do is get rid of the cat. Not that I don't like him, but we don't really need him for this. And we're going to make our own sprites. So we're going to make a button. So we're going to make an outline. Let's make the outline nice and dark. Bump it up to about, I don't know, maybe 10. And just make a rectangle like so, and then we can change the size over here to maybe 50, maybe even smaller. Let's make it 33. That should work. And next we need some text, and we want the text to be either darker or lighter so that we can read it. Click here, and we're going to type in mixed number. So this button that we're making now, this sprite that we're going to use as a button, will convert from a mixed number. All right, let's grab just the edge. I just need to move it. There we go. Make it a little bit bigger. Maybe move it down, so roughly in the center there. All right, so that's our mixed number button. Let's put him right there. Now we need to make a improper fraction button. I want to fill it with a different color. Doesn't really matter what color you use. Let's use green for this one. And then make sure that's selected, and for the outline we want to definitely have another dark color again. All right, and it apparently changes back, so let's make sure it's on 10, and then we'll make our button for improper fraction. All right, so that, again, way too big, so let's make him 33 as well. Put it about right there. And then add the text. So the name of this is improper fraction. And I forgot to change the color of the text so you can't see it. So that's one thing you want to make sure you do. You want your text to be a different color, obviously, so you can see it. All right, and then I'm going to stretch that out to match as big as we can make it. Still make it fit, and then drag him down to roughly in the center. Notice how when you get close to the center it kind of pops into place. Alright, so those are our two sprites. Next thing we need are our variables. So let's bring the cat back. Let's bring the cat back. The cat can be our start code. Put the start code under here because we're going to have certain code under each button when you press it. So let's put the start code under the cat. So let's create our variables. Okay, so we're going to need 5 variables. We're going to need improper denominator. Okay, just drag that down here out of the way for now. We're going to need an improper numerator, and that one's going to go roughly right there, so we can double click to get that. So that's the numerator, large readout. That's the denominator. Not quite lined up. It's a little hard to do sometimes. Okay. Let's make a sprite. Whoops, let's not upload. Let's make a sprite to be the division bar. So nice dark line that's about maybe, let's try 20 and see what it looks like. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Roughly like that. Of course, it's huge, so 33. It's a little long for what we need, but that's fine. It's a little hard to grab too. You have to hit it. You can't. None of this part here or any of the transparent part will let you grab it, so you have to grab it right on the thing there. And let's make it a little bit smaller, side to side. So let's erase just a little bit off of each end. There we go. I like that. All right, so we'll go back to our code. So we have our improper fraction set up, and we're going to do the same thing for the mixed number. So we need mixed number denominator, and we'll put that down here for now. Mixed number numerator, and I want to go about there or so. Let's go ahead and change those and place them roughly where we want them. And let's duplicate our line sprite so we don't have to draw it again. And then we can just pull him down here like that. So to duplicate on this, I just right-clicked and selected duplicate. Now the last thing we need is we need the mixed number whole part. So we need the actual number part of the whole number. We're going to make that a big one, and we're going to put it right there. So we want the large readout. All right, so we've got everything lined up the way it should be. So we're going to put the start code under the cat. It doesn't matter where you put the cat. I'm going to put him back down here, just out of the way. I think that looks a little bit better. But anyway, make sure the cat's selected, and we're going to put the start code under the cat. So when the flag is clicked, do you remember what to do when the very first thing you want to do is set everything up? So we're going to set all our variables up. We created 5 variables, so we need 5 sets, 5 set blocks, 4, 5, and we need to change each one. So improper numerator, denominator, mixed numerator, mixed denominator, and mixed whole number. So make sure we got each one. I'm going to change these to question marks. And you can hit tab to go through without having to click, but change them all to question marks and then test it. So when I run it, boom, they should all turn to question marks. Okay, so that tells me nothing's set up yet. All right, the next thing we want to do is we want to go to the mixed number sprite. Okay? We're going to do him first. And we only want this to happen if that one is clicked. So if they click the mixed number sprite, then I want this code to run. So we need to get the information. So we're going to ask, what's the whole number part? So what is the whole number? And we're going to store that in the answer. So I would go ahead and drag it over. And then we're going to need 2 more questions and answers. So I'm just going to not connect them, but just put them over here. Just for now, so that way I don't have to come back up here. So as you get a little more proficient with Scratch, you'll learn little tricks like that to help you out. So what is the whole number part? So we're going to set the whole number part. Make sure you pick the right one. So mixed number whole. We're going to set it to whatever the user answers. So let's run that and test it. All right. So it cleaned everything out. Now it's waiting on me to click something. So I'm going to click that, and it's going to say, what is the whole number? And I'm going to say 10. Boom. And it puts it right in there where it goes. Okay, that works. All right, so now the next part is, what is the numerator of the fraction? And I am going to store that in the mixed number numerator. So make sure you line up your vocabulary there. All right, and then the last one is, what is the denominator of the fraction? And I'm going to store that in the mixed number denominator, just like that. All right, so when this sprite is clicked, it's going to ask me those three things, and it's going to fill this out. So let's test it. All right, I have to click this. So let's say the whole number is 2, and it's 2 2/3. So now I have 2 2/3. Perfect. Now what I want it to do is to convert to an improper fraction. All right, so here's where you need to put your thinking cap on just a little bit. We're going to set the improper numerator, so the top part, and then we have to set the improper denominator as well. So how do we do that? So we can go ahead and click these here. So once it gets this information, once it gets these three, it can do the math. Now the denominator, the 3 and that's in the denominator of this one, that's going to be the same. That's not going to change. So we can just straight up copy this over to set the improper to the mixed. That makes sense, I hope. So the denominator is not going to change. So let's run it right now. Now it's going to set the top to 0 because we haven't. Let's just put a question mark in for now. So we run this now and test it, and then click that to get the thing. I'm going to change it each time so that you see that it's different. So 3 1/3. So it automatically sets this to 3 because the bottom, the denominator, is not going to change when you convert from a mixed to an improper or back and forth. That's not going to change. Now what does change is the improper numerator part, so this part here. So if you remember how to do this by hand, to calculate this, you multiply the denominator times the whole number, and then you add the numerator, because we have 3 sets of thirds. So we have 3, as in 3 wholes, we have 3/3 plus 3/3 plus 3/3. So we multiply that to get 9, and then we add the 1 to get the extra one to be 10. So if I just type in 10 here, that'll work, but that's not going to help me if I do a different fraction. I would have to do exactly this one for it to work. So I'm just going to put in the code to do exactly what I said by multiplying and adding. So I'm going to drag in the add first, and then I'm going to drag in the multiply. And it's really hard to visualize this until you get used to it, but if you kind of think of this being parentheses, it makes a little more sense. So we're going to multiply the mixed number denominator by the mixed whole number, and then we're going to add that to the mixed number numerator. All right. So I know that's a little hard to see on my screen, but so it's going to ask us for those 3 things. It's going to fill in the boxes. It's going to calculate the improper numerator, which in this case should be 10, and then it's going to just copy over the denominator. Okay, so let's test that out. So I'm going to use the same one because I know what the number's supposed to be. 3 and then 1/3, and then immediately it calculates the improper fraction. So 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1 is 10, and then it's still thirds. So 10/3 is equal to 3 1/3. So that works. So let's try a different number. So I don't have to run it again. It's nice to run it again because it clears everything out. I guess you should. Clicked. We're going to have it ask us for the two values. So it's going to ask two questions and we're going to give it two answers. So we can pull these over for now to keep from having to go back and get them in a few minutes. So what is the numerator? So what's the numerator of the fraction? We're going to store that in the improper, whoops, not the variable yet. We're going to set the improper numerator to whatever the user answers. Then we're going to ask, what is the denominator? And we're going to wait. And we're going to set the improper denominator, which is the first one we created, so it's already there, to the answer. So now we have, if we run it now and click this button, it's going to ask us, so let's say 12/5. So now we have our fraction. So under here is where we need to have it do the math. And this is where you're going to learn a couple of new terms. So we're going to set the whole number part to, right now we're just making a question mark. But in order to convert an improper fraction to a mixed number, you divide the denominator into the numerator. However many times it goes in as the whole number, and then the remainder stays on top. Now there are a couple of commands in the computer, in the programming, that allow you to do that straight up. So there are some special commands under the very last one where it says ABS. If you click the drop down, there are a lot of things in here. Scientific notation, logs, natural logs, some trigonometry, square roots, ceiling, and floor. So we're going to pick floor. What floor means is it only takes the whole number. It doesn't round it. Technically, floor means it rounds down, but basically it just cuts off the decimals. So 5, for the example we have, 5 will go into 12 2 times with 2 left over. If you do it in the calculator, you're going to get something like 2.4. And what floor does, what this command here does, is just drop the decimal, so you don't get it. All you get back is the whole number, which is all we want for this. So that's a nice little command to remember to do that. If you just need the whole number, it does not round up. It just drops the decimal. So we're going to divide 5 into 12. That is the, make sure I do this right, that is the numerator divided by the denominator. Okay, that's the numerator divided by the denominator. and we want to take the floor of that. All right, so I'm going to run this again. I'm just going to click the improper fraction button to test this little piece of code, and I'm going to use the same numbers since we've been talking about it, 12 and 5. All right, so it did this calculation right here, and it put 2 in the box. And that should be correct. 5 will go into 12 2 times with 2 left over. So then we should put a 2 here, and then the 5 is going to be the same. We'll do that one last since it's pretty straightforward. But we need the 2. So now we need what's left over from a division, the remainder part. And there's a very cool command in the code that will do that called mod. Mod's a special type of division that only gives you the remainder. No matter what you divide, if there's a remainder, it gives you the mod. The mod gives you that answer. If there's not a remainder, the mod is 0. So we're going to set the we're going to set the mixed number numerator to the mod of the same division we did up here. So we're doing the same division. We are just getting 2 different parts of the answer. All right, so let me pull this in and I'll go through it one more time. So let me run it. 12 and 5, and now we got 2 and 2. So again, floor takes the top part, or the whole number part, and then mod takes the remainder part. So 5 into 12 will go 2 times, which is here, with 2 left over, which is here. And now this does all that math for us. We don't have to do any of that math. And mod is used a lot of times for checking to see if a number's even. For example, if you divide an even number by 2, you don't have a remainder, so you get 0. So that's an easy way to check, is it even? And then the last thing we need to do is set the mixed number denominator to be the same thing as the improper denominator. Okay, now let's test that and make sure we get what we want. So I'm going to use the same numbers because we've been talking about them. So 12 over 5 is equivalent to 2 and 2/5. And that is right. All right, so let's run it. And then let's do another mixed number, a different one, 5 and 1/3. So notice the 3's are the same, so the thirds are the same. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 is 16, so we have our right answer. And if we go backwards, 3 into 16 will go 5 times, which is 15 with 1 left over, and that gives us our answer there. So it appears that our converter is working as we would like. So let's go over here and type in a name for this project, and I'm just going to call it a fraction converter because the name in the instructions that I gave you is a little unwieldy. So let's just call it a fraction converter, and then make sure you share that. I guess you could sell it, but you got to give me some of the profits if you do. And then share that link on Canvas so that I can check it out, and you're done. So make sure it works properly, and once you've got it working properly, you can take the quiz and use the calculator the app that you just made for the quiz.